Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lucia and this is Lulu's Leaves. So today I'm going to be doing a little vlog style video. I'm going to be talking to you guys all about my favorite propagation methods, but I also have some chores to do and some substrates to switch out. So I want to kind of show you that while I'm talking about these rooting methods. Hopefully this video will be super helpful for you guys. I really like talking about rooting plants because I find it really fascinating, but I definitely have my favorite methods and I'm going to talk a little bit about the three methods that I prefer when propagating. But before we get into the vlog, if you're not already subscribed, please hit that button down below. And if you enjoy this video, you can also give it a huge thumbs up as that really helps me out. Again, sorry, it is going to get dark. I apologize. It is winter here in Canada, so it's about that time where it gets dark at 4 p.m. But hopefully we can keep this light going for at least a little bit longer. All right, guys, let's get straight into this video. So I am upstairs in my grow tent here. I do need to figure something out. This isn't the grow tent's problem. This is my problem. The humidity is sitting at about 42%, and I do have a humidifier here, but I don't have it running because I don't have a fan yet. So I definitely need to get a fan going so that I can keep that running in here, so these plants get that humidity. But they are at least still getting the Mars Hydro light. I'm going to go further into detail about this tent in a separate video though, because I do want to do kind of a grow tent update. But I wanted to take a few of these guys. I want to take my philodendron Florida Ghost here, and which other one? Oh yeah, this guy, my medium silver. I want to take both of these and put them into well, actually first I'm going to check on their roots. Then I'm going to decide whether I'm going to put these guys in perlite sphagnum moss mix, or if they're going to go into some more dirty moss to get some more nutrients, because I don't want to keep these guys in here long term, because I just find that philodendrons don't do super well in moss long term. That's just me personally, but I'm probably going to turn this into a mixture similar to my pastazanum here. I can't remember exactly what I rooted this guy in. I think it's been mostly just this soil. So yeah, I'm gonna probably do a sphagnum moss soil mixture, but we'll have to see where those roots are at. And then while I'm at it, I'm going to be talking to you guys also about my favorite propagation methods, because I do have quite a few different ways that I propagate plants. So I did want to go into a little bit of detail with you guys about those. Okay, so I've also decided that I'm going to be taking this Albosingonium cutting that I have here, and I'm going to put this guy into perlite. I'm either going to keep it in the tent or I'm going to put it in my prop box, but I will probably decide that a little bit later on. First, I just want to get it out of this moss, because with the tent humidity not staying super high right now, I don't think that I can have this in moss because it just gets so crunchy so quickly. And that's just not good for the roots. The plant will grow roots and then they'll shrivel up because they're way too dry. So yeah, I'm gonna get this guy out ASAP. And then these guys are gonna come downstairs with me as well. All right guys, so I made it down the stairs without dropping any of my plants, so that's a bonus. And yeah, I just wanna go through some of the plants that I have propagating right now and talk about the different mediums that I have them propagating in. So there are basically three main ways that I like to propagate my houseplants, and that's a siren. Yeah, so the three main ways that I like to propagate are in perlite or pumice. This is probably nice. So perlite or pumice is definitely my favorite way to propagate for most plants. I have my philodendron mame cutting here propagating in the pumice, and it's doing so well. I just put it in there about 4 or 5 days ago, because it was getting super leggy. Old leaves were dying off. So I didn't want to have a super long stem with just like 1 or 2 leaves on the top. So I decided to take a top cutting, which this one is. And these are the current roots. Although it's not much, you can see right there that pinkish root. It really does look like that whole crown of spikes is going to produce roots, which is really awesome. And it will mean a really great root system for this guy. There was also a middle cutting that I took that had no leaves, so it's just basically a node propagation that I sent to one of my friends. And then I just have the base of it sitting in the soil that it was in before. So eventually that will push out a new leaf from one of the buds basically. And that will be fun when that happens. Hopefully I can have 2 mames. This one hasn't been growing the best for me lately, so that's kind of why I decided to do this. It's kind of stayed small like this for a really long time now, and I haven't got too much growth, so I wanted to switch things up. Hopefully this guy will be happy in some higher humidity. It's currently sitting in my humidity tub, basically where all of my perlite propagations are. So yeah, when I have plants propagating in perlite, I either keep them in a glass where I can fill the bottom third of that glass up with water to keep that humidity a little bit higher, or if it's going to be in a tub that keeps the humidity high already, I'll just water it once in a net pot, and it usually stays moist enough for root growth. So yes, perlite is definitely one of my favorite propagation methods, or my favorite, I would say. And yeah, that's kind of why I want to put my ghost and the amedrium in a perlite sphagnum mix, just so it is a little bit more, I don't know, I find that it will probably just stay a little bit more chunky, less compact, and it might save it when I miss out on some waterings. So yeah, I also have propagated in moss, as you can see here. I will show you the roots on this guy because I'm gonna have to unpot it anyways. Ooh, this is good news. So the old roots on this guy definitely aren't anything special, but you can see this juicy new root forming there. It's doing so well. Hopefully that means I'll get some bigger leaves again soon, because they kind of have been putting out pretty small leaves. But since being in the tent, it has also pushed out a completely new growth point there. Do you see this one right there? So that's really exciting. Hopefully it will be a bushier plant after that, because we also have that growth point right there where there's a new leaf coming out. So I think I'm actually going to put this into a soil slash this mix, something really chunky, but something that will also still keep some moisture. So definitely some sphagnum moss still. So I'll put this one aside and we'll check up on the amedrium too. And yeah, so when I'm propagating in sphagnum moss, I think it's great, but it's also been a lot slower for me than any other propagation method. And I've talked about it many times before. I appreciate instant gratification. So if I can get some roots a little bit faster, I'm going to use that method. And so I did put this guy in sphagnum, but it lost a leaf because I didn't water it in time. This plant honestly has been so fussy for me. I have heard from other people that it's not so difficult, but that has not been the case for me. So yeah, I'm seeing definitely some new growth here, but I think I'm going to transfer this guy to strictly perlite or pumice. But yeah, look at those roots. I think that right there might be a growth point rather than a root. It seems that way. Yeah, I don't know. But luckily we do still have some roots. So I'm going to put this guy into perlite just to make those a little bit stronger, because I feel like I'm gonna forget about it again and this is going to completely dry out and shrivel up the roots. Okay, so I'm actually just gonna go ahead and take all of the moss out of this container because I'm going to use it for the perlite, and I'm probably gonna shove that guy in with my other propagations in my propagation tub where I have everything else that's in perlite. And by the way, when I say perlite, I'm using the term perlite and pumice interchangeably. interchangeably because they basically do the exact same thing and they work the exact same way when rooting. So I actually have pumice, but you can use perlite, it's no problem. So if you weren't lazy like me, you would go wash this out before you put the plant in, but I'm gonna put the plant in and then run some water through it because that's how I do it. Anyways, I'm just gonna kind of dig in here and make a spot for this guy. And I'm gonna try to keep this growth point, if it is a growth point, above the surface level here so that it doesn't get all deformed. Okay, so I think I managed that. This guy is kind of growing on a weird angle. I think it's because of the light in the tent. It's probably growing facing really straight up. It's also a little bit wobbly, but I think that's going to change once the roots establish a little bit. It's just because there are so few roots and they're very scrawny. So yeah, this guy is all ready for the prop box, so I'll put him aside. I'm also gonna take the sphagnum moss out of here. How am I gonna do this? How do you even mix spag and perlite? All right, sorry guys, I kind of had to switch up my angle there because the sun is going down. Anyways, I'm going to take a little cup of perlite here and then I'm gonna kind of mix it around with the sphagnum moss. Hopefully that works. I've never really stirred the two together before. But yes, I also changed my mind. This is not going into any soil quite yet because I only have Miracle-Gro and I don't want to put this in Miracle-Gro. I want to wait till I can get some better soil. So yeah, let's get this perlite going. Okay, so I did about half perlite there and then sphagnum moss. I don't know if this is gonna go well at all. And then I'm just gonna use my Apple pencil, which probably isn't the greatest idea I've ever had, to stir this around. It's going everywhere. So I think I'm just gonna add a little bit more, well, I'll add the plant in and then I'm gonna add a bit more perlite on top and then that should be good, I think. This could get messy. It's getting messy. And then I'm just gonna take a few little more bits of sphagnum moss and mix it all around in there. I think that's okay. So that is this guy all done up in here. I'm hopeful that this will be a slightly better mix for this guy and it will stay a little bit more moist a little bit longer because that is seriously my struggle with sphagnum moss. It's a great rooting medium, but if you can't keep the humidity really, really high, you're gonna run into problems with it drying out and then shriveling up your roots. So if you don't have higher humidity that is necessary for the sphagnum moss, or you don't have a container, I would definitely recommend the perlite method. Otherwise, if you do have a prop box that you can keep the sphagnum moss and the plant in, it's a totally great and viable method. The plants really do love it too. So I think those are all of my chores, but I did want to talk to you guys also about I would say this is my favorite rooting method for Hoyas. I actually have never rooted anything but Hoyas in leca. If I buy cuttings of Hoyas, I definitely put them directly into leca because they do exceptionally well. And these cups, keep that moisture in really nicely, as you can see there. So we do get nice high humidity for the roots to grow in this little container. But just as a kind of example, I have had this plant for, I would say 2 months now. And these are the juicy roots that it has grown since. I'm so impressed with this plant. It hasn't put out any new leaves yet, but Hoyas are very slow, especially when they are like a middle cutting or if their growth has been spent, they kind of have to push out a new growth. So that's to be expected. But rooting in perlite for Hoyas has been foolproof for me. There has not been a single Hoya that has not rooted in this. And it does save you most of the trouble of digging through sphagnum moss to find those roots because typically Hoya roots are much thinner and get mistaken for sphagnum moss more than any other plant. That's in my opinion, at least. I still do have a lot of Hoyas in leca, but any plant that was like an aroid or anything other than a Hoya has come out of leca. It's just a little bit too stressful for me and I don't think they love it in there long term. Definitely an exceptional rooting method for Hoyas. So basically, if you're trying to root your aroids and you want to prevent root rot, which is very typical in something like very damp sphagnum moss, I would absolutely recommend the perlite or pumice method. You can also do a little hybrid of the two, sphagnum and perlite or pumice, or you can go full sphagnum. Just make sure that you have high enough humidity to keep that from drying out and shriveling up your roots. And then for Hoyas, definitely leca or also perlite works really, really well because you can treat it as a semi-hydro medium as well if you just keep that reservoir available to it. All right, guys, well, that's going to be it for me. I really hope you guys enjoyed learning a little bit more about my favorite brooding methods. If you guys did, be sure to hit the thumbs up button down below. And if you want to see more content like this, you can also click the subscribe button. We have some exciting stuff coming up for the month of December, or as I like to call it, Christmas month. But yes, I'm going to be doing a lot of fun stuff and I know you guys are going to enjoy it. So with that being said, that is all from me. Thank you so, so much for watching this video and I cannot wait to see you in the next one. Bye, guys.